So I'm considering this probably the second stupidest thing I've done since I've lived here in Costa Rica. If you want to find out what that is, stay tuned for this episode of Costa Rica Story. So this is an episode I really didn't want to have to make, but it's something that happened. The second stupidest thing I've done here in Costa Rica. So this all went down at the Walmart parking lot in San Isidro. And at the spur of the moment, I decided to go over to San Isidro. I was going to go to the bike shop and buy a bike because I needed some exercise, and I thought that would be a good idea to get a bike, get my exercise routine going well. And I figured while I was over there, I'd stop at Walmart and pick up a few things. But because it was spur of the moment, and it takes a while to get over to San Isidro, it was late afternoon. And I was kind of in a little bit of a hurry, so I figured I could stop into Walmart real quick, get a few things, get in and out, and have time to get to the bike shop before it closed. So I pulled into Walmart, and the parking lot was more crowded than it usually is. So I pulled around. My usual spot was taken. So I pulled around, and there was two empty spots by a big cement pillar. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to park next to that pillar because that'll protect me on one side. So that's what I did, and I always like to back in. So I swung around and I started backing into the spot, and I probably should have looked more carefully. Obviously, I should have looked more carefully, because as I was backing in, I heard this horrible little crunching sound. I immediately stopped and got out, and what happened was there was a fire extinguisher box, a red fire extinguisher box that protruded out from the concrete pillar, and it was actually in the path of where I back in. I mean, this was totally my fault for being careless and being in a rush. Being in a rush was the main thing that caused this. But the way the parking space was set up, the parking space included that box, so I backed straight into the parking space, and I hit the box and crunched it, and the security guards came over, and we started talking about what happened. And because I don't speak Spanish, we didn't understand each other at all, and my translator didn't work because we were inside the garage and I wasn't getting good reception. So it was really frustrating, and eventually the manager of Walmart came down, and she spoke a little bit of English, and I explained what happened. And one of the security guards was really on my side because he was looking at the parking spot and how absurd the parking lines were there. I mean, obviously it's my fault for backing into the thing, but I mean, in Costa Rica, they don't idiot-proof things the way they do in the United States. The United States, they're real careful about things like this because nobody wants to get sued. But here in Costa Rica, it's like, if you do something stupid, it's on you. So it was on me. It was on me, totally on me, even though it's kind of a messed up parking spot. But so anyways, the final outcome with Walmart was they weren't going to hold me responsible for ruining the fire extinguisher box, which kind of got mangled, and they understood that I was going to have enough to deal with just my self-inflicted injury on my Grand Vitara. So where does that leave me now? I've been in contact with the best mechanic in all of Costa Rica, Josue, over in San Isidro, and he is ordering me an aftermarket taillight because the Suzuki taillight is like way too expensive. So it's going to be a aftermarket part, and hopefully it'll look all right there. If not, as long as it functions, that's all I care about. And I'm it's good to have a friend like Josue who can take care of something like this and get me back on the road again. I mean, there was some damage to the side of the car, like it scraped down through over my gas tank, popped the light off, and it damaged the the metal here a little bit. Hopefully that won't affect the how the light fits. Well, that wraps up this episode of the second stupidest thing I've done since I've lived here in Costa Rica. And don't forget to tune in to the sequel to this in a few days, called How I Went Over to San Isidro and had Josue fix this mess and make it look pretty again. That's all I've got for this episode of Costa Rica Story. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll talk to you later. Don't forget to tune in to the sequel to this in a couple of days, called How I Go Over to San Jose. Not San Jose, Jesus Christ. Well, that does it for the second. Well, that wraps up this episode featuring the stupidest.
Don't miss the sequel to this coming up in a couple days, called I Take This Car Over to San Jose and have Jose. Don't forget to tune in to the sequel to this. Don't forget to tune in to the sequel to this. And don't forget to tune in to the sequel to this episode. It's called How I Went Over to. Don't forget to tune in to the sequel of this